A very good morning to all of you. Myself, Dr. Varun Narayan Mishra. Today, I am going to discuss about different operators used in PLSQL. Okay. In the previous class, we have discussed what is PLSQL, what are the functions, and how we can write different syntax, different statement in PLSQL. Okay. Basically, PLSQL is an extension, or you can say it's a kind of version of SQL. Okay, and this version of SQL is known as PLSQL, and it provides us some more facilities in comparison to the SQL. So we also do the query, we also do the same kind of operations in PLSQL. The only difference is that PLSQL provides us more in you can say the facilities or more functions in comparison to the SQL. So now today we will discuss different types of operators, different types of functions, which is very much useful in PLSQL query operation. Okay. So before starting, first we should know that all the PLSQL operators are generally same as those of SQL. Okay. Structured query language is having arithmetic operators, logical operators, Boolean operators. There are different functions. There are different data manipulation languages, data definition languages. All the things are same in PLSQL. Whatever the functions are available in SQL, what are the operators are available in SQL, the same operators are available for PLSQL. Okay. Okay. And in PLSQL, double star is the exponential operator in PLSQL. Okay. When we are going to apply the exponential operator, we are going to use the exponential function. So in that case, we use double star in the PLSQL function. Okay. So the comparison involving null always yield the null. For example, here, if we are going to find out the number of values in a table, so we write it as a syntax like v underscore count, and this symbol, in the last class we have discussed, this symbol means assigning some value to a function. Okay, double dot is equal to, this is the assigning symbol. Means by using this symbol we can assign, or we are going to assign some value to some function or some variable. So each and every SQL operator or each and every PLSQL syntax is required to have this kind of symbol. This is a symbol used for assigning some value to the variables used in the PLSQL. So okay, so now we will discuss different kinds of operators present, or different kinds of operators available in PLSQL. Okay, in the next slide. So before going to apply any operator, before going to use any operator, we should have some programming guidelines. Okay, these guidelines are very important when we are going to write some syntax, or when we are going to write some statement or command in the PLSQL. Okay, first guideline is that we should always use some comments. Comments means syntax. All over the means any program or any SQL, PLSQL system requires a syntax. That syntax means you should write some comment for that syntax. Okay. Second guideline, second requirement is that we should always use a case convention for the code. We have to write the keywords in uppercase, and we can write the identifiers in the lowercase. So the identifier means what kind of data sets we are going to identify, whether it is a number, whether it is a text, whether it is a string. Okay, so when we are going to use the identifier, or when we are going to write a syntax including the identifier, we write this syntax, this statement in lowercase, and if we are going to write a keyword, then it will be written in the uppercase. So it is important to note how to write keywords and how to write the identifiers. Keywords will be written in uppercase, and identifiers will be written in the lowercase. Okay, then we should use naming convention for the identifiers. Naming means we should provide proper naming, proper nomenclature. If we are going to identify some variable, whether it is a name or whether it is a number, whether it is date of birth, anything, any kind of variables, if we are going to extract or if we are going to identify, we should write proper nomenclature. Here the name is variable v underscore name. Okay, if we are going to identify the variable which is name, then we write is v underscore name. Okay, and after that use the indentation. Indentation. Use indentation means you have to be independent, means whatever the data sets or whatever the identifier or variable you are going to use, it will be considered as the indentation. Okay, so these are some guidelines which is required to apply before writing any syntax, before writing any statement in PLSQL. Okay, so how to do the indenting code? Indenting code means we need to have some code at each level of your program. Okay, as we know that there are four components, there are four stages while writing a code in PLSQL. First one is declare, then begin, then have the selection, and the end. So before writing any statement or before writing any syntax, we need to have some clarification about what we are going to write. For example, if we are going to declare a variable of number, so we write it b underscore department name and b underscore location. Means we are going to identify the department number, which department number is there, and what is the location of that department number in the table. So first we will declare the variables. Variables may be declared by having some you can say the code. That code may be used for identifier, or it is a kind of identifier. It will be written in the small letters and the keywords will be written in the capital letters. So here number is the keyword, so it is written in the uppercase, it is written in the capital letters, and department number is the uh, another thing that is written in lowercase. It is the department number is this identifier. Department number is the identifier, so it is written in the lowercase. Number is the keyword, so it is written in the uppercase. So we need to know which one is identifier and which one is keyword. Okay, and then we will start our query after begin. Under begin section, we will select the department number from where we want to collect the department number, means what kind of tables or what is the name of the table from where we are going to extract that department number or department information. Okay, so under first under declaration we will define the identifier and keywords, then begin. Under begin section we will write the code, we will write the syntax of the query, means what kind of query we are looking for. Here we are looking for the department number from the table, so we will write select department number, then we will provide the location of that table where it is saved in your computer or your laptop or anyone. Okay, then we will define its location, then where means we will define the name of that table. The name of the table is sales. So from that table it will retrieve, it will extract the information about the department number. After running this process, it will end and you will get the desired result. So this is the way in which we write a code, we write any syntax using PLSQL. Okay, now in the next slide, so how many types of statements in PLSQL? It is same as SQL. As we know that in SQL there are two types of statements: this data definition language, data manipulation language. Okay, so in the same way PLSQL having two kinds of command: data manipulation command or data definition command, or data definition language or data manipulation language. Under data manipulation language there will be several commands. It will be commit, rollback, save point. Okay, it will have delete, update, anything. These kind of commands are under the data manipulation language. So whatever the data manipulation commands are used in SQL, the same commands will be used in PLSQL version of the SQL. Now second type of statement can be written using DDL, data definition language. Data definition language, it includes some commands to define the information, to define the initial information. Means we can have the description of the table, we can have the description of the database, we can have the description about the data type. All these things can be done under DDL, data definition language. So the same way whatever the data definition language commands or data manipulation language commands are used in SQL, the same commands and same kind of functions will be used in PL SQL. Okay, so first is the select command. Okay, select command is already discussed in SQL. In the same way, PL SQL is also having the select command. Select command means it retrieves the data from the database with the select command. If you want to select a specific value, if you want to select a specific information from your table, then you will write or you will use the select command. So select statement in PL SQL can be written in this way. Select, it is a keyword, so it will be written in the capital letters. And select list is a identifier, means from where we are going to retrieve our data, or what is the identifiable identification table from where we are going to retrieve the information. So select is a keyword, it will be written in the capital letters. Select list is a identifier, it will be written in the small letters or lowercase. So we will write the syntax for selecting any specific value in a table in a PL SQL operation by having this kind of syntax. Select, then select underscore list into, and now in that table what variable we are going to retrieve. So we will define the variable name, what kind of variables are there, whether it is number or text or it is a string, any kind of variable may be selected. So we have to define the variable type. Then from the table, means from which table we should provide the table name, and if it is required we will have some conditions under where section. So select, into, from, where, these are the four keywords that are used to write a syntax for having select command in PL SQL. Okay, condition is the optional. If you require to perform some kind of conditional operator, conditional function, like if you are going to select the age greater than 50, or you can have the option to select the height more than 5.8 inch or anything, so we can have the conditional operator. Otherwise you have to define first the select, means the select list, you have to define the identifier, then you have to identify the into, means what kind of variables you are looking for, then from where, means from which table you are going to retrieve that information, that will comes under the from, and you will provide the table name of that database. The database having different kinds of variables, you have already defined what kind of variables you are looking for, and from table you can have that variable, you can select that variable from that database, and if you require you can apply some conditions under that where section. So this is the way in which we can write the syntax for select command or select operation. Okay, now into clause is required here because into clause or into section is very much important to look into the type of variable, what kind of variables you are looking for. Here suppose in a table there are different variables: number, location, date of birth, age, address, or annual income, anything, height, weight. So what kind of information or what kind of variables you are looking for, then we need to apply the into command in the PL/SQL. Into clause is very important. You have to define the type of variable, what kind of variables you are looking for, or what kind of information you are going to retrieve from that table. So into command is an additional advantage when we use PL/SQL. This into command is not available in the SQL, but it is available in PL/SQL. It provides us the ability to select the required variable type, what kind of variables you are looking for, or what kind of information of that variable you want to retrieve from that table. So this is the into clause, and into is very important in selecting or in writing a syntax for select statement in PL/SQL. Okay, so retrieving the data in PL/SQL having some you can say we have to provide some order, we have to provide some sequence. Okay, retrieve the order date and the ship date for the specified order. For example, if you are going to retrieve some data in a database having some sales record or sales data set, so you can retrieve the order date in a sequence, in a proper sequence, that you can have the date of the order or shipping of that order, or you may have other information that can be stored in a sequence or in the order in a proper sequence. So this is the way, this is the example through which we can write a syntax for retrieving the sequential information about the date of order or the shipping date from the specified order. So this is an example. We already know that for PLSQL we have to define the variable type, we have to define the variable. So this can be done under the declare section. Under declare section we have defined the identifier. Okay, now under begin section we will define the keywords will be written in capital letters, and other identifiers will be written in the small letters. Okay, from order and where id, here is the condition, id is equal to 620. Now it means we are looking for the order date having id with 620. So this is the condition from that table, otherwise it will show you the entire order date. If we are looking for a specific order date, so we have to define what kind of id or what is the id for which you are going to retrieve the order date and ship date. So you have to define some condition if it is required, otherwise you can just declare the variable, you can just select the variable type, and into means you can define what kind of information you are going to retrieve from that table, and from means you have to define the name of the table, from which table you are looking for that data or for which table you are going to retrieve that information. So this is the retrieving of the data by using PLSQL command. Okay. So okay, now if during the retrieving of database in PLSQL, sometimes we need to have return the sum of the salaries. If you want to see the sum of the salaries for all the employees, so you can have this kind of function, this double dice. Double dice is a function. Double dice is a you can say it is a function that is used to sum the all the values, or you can say here in the case we are going to return the sum of the salaries for all the employees in the specific department. For adding the salaries or for retrieving or for getting the information about the total salary of all the employees, we will we will use this kind of operator, this kind of symbol. This is double dash. It will sum all the salaries for all the employees in a specific department. Now moving to the next slide. So now data manipulation commands or manipulation functions in PLSQL. In the same way, like we have already discussed in the previous classes, that in SQL there are various manipulation languages, manipulation commands, update, insert, delete. Okay, in the same way, the data manipulation commands is also available in PLSQL. So data manipulation commands or data manipulation functions are used to make some changes in the database by using some data manipulation commands. These are three main data manipulation commands: insert, update, or delete. You can insert some new value in the table, you can update the existing information in the table, or you can delete any information from your table. These three are main data manipulation commands that is same as used in the SQL. Okay, so now inserting a data, if you are going to add some new data set, new information in your table, or if for an example if you are going to add the information of a new employee in the existing employee table, so you can use the command. Insert command can be written in this way: begin, then insert into, means in which table you are going to insert. We are going to insert a new employee information into the table which is known as emp table. So we are going to insert new value, we are going to insert new information into the employee table. So we will write here insert. Insert will be written in capital letters because it is a keyword. Keyword will be written in the capital letters, and identifier is employee. Employee number is identifier, employee name is identifier, job title and department number is a identifier. So identifier will be written in small letters, whereas the keywords will be written in the capital letters. So under begin section we will use insert into command, then we will define the identifier, means we will define the database, the table in which we are going to add new information, we are going to insert new employee information. Then values means where you want to add, okay, where you want to add the employee in that table, what is the sequence of that employee in that table. So you have to define the sequence at the 10th position, means we are going to insert the information of new employee at the 10th position of that table. So if this is the way we can insert new value, we can insert new data in our existing database by using insert command, which is a data manipulation command. Okay, now moving to the next slide, updating data set means if you want to increase the salary of employees in a employee table who are analysts. Okay, if you want to add, if you want to update the existing database, suppose previously all the employees are getting the salary of 1000, but now they are getting the salary of 2000. Okay, so we have to update our existing database by updating the information of this salary. Previously it was 1000, now it is it should be 2000. So using that update command, we can update the existing information by without any kind of manual entry. Just you can have the function that is update, and update is a keyword, so it will be written in the capital letters. Update, then employee means we are going to update the data in the employee table. So update, then name of the table employee, and now we are going to set the increase, means how much increase in the salary. So salary is equal to salary plus how much increase is there. Previously it was 1000, now they are getting 2000, so there should be 1000 increase. So we will write it like this: salary is equal to salary, that is existing salary, plus how much increase in the salary. So 1000 plus we will add the increased salary, that is 1000. So total salary will be 1000 plus 1000, that will be 2000. So same information, same kind of increment will be updated for all the employees who are getting increment in that table, in that employee table. So this is the way we can uh, update our existing database. It may be for different applications also. Okay, but this is a simple example showing to how we can update our database with increased salary, the increased salary of employee in a employee table. This is the way we can update our existing database by using update command. Okay, now in the next slide, deleting data. Deleting means if we want to delete a row, if we want to delete any data from our database, then we can use the delete command. So delete command can delete the entire data set of that database. So before applying this delete command, you have to be specific, means what kind of data set or which row you want to delete. If you will not define the row number or column number, then it will delete the entire database. Okay, it is already discussed in SQL. Okay, before running the delete command or before going to apply delete command, you have to define which, in which table or in which row or column you are going to delete. Okay, suppose here 10 means we are going to delete the data set in the 10th row. Okay, so it will delete only the data sets insert available, only the data sets in the row number 10. Otherwise, if you will not define the row number, then it will permanently delete the entire data in your database or in your table. So delete command should be implemented, should be executed carefully. Before running the delete command, you have to be very specific, means what row or what column you are going to delete. Means you have to define the row number or column number of your table to delete that database in that table. Okay, so here under declaration we will define the identifier, then we will define the row number 10, and after begin we will run the delete command, delete from employee table. Where means you have to define where you want to delete, means we are going to delete it from the department number. Under the column department number, you will delete, you are going to delete the row number 10. So this it will delete the row number 10 only in the department number section, department number, which is a type of data set, which is a kind of variable that is a number. Okay, so this is the deleting of data in your uh, database. Before running delete command, you have to define the number of the row that belongs to the department from the employee table. Okay, this is the example through which we can write delete command. Okay, so now second important step in PLSQL is how to write control structures. Okay, because PLSQL is an extension of SQL, so we should know how to control the command, how to control the functions, how to control the function and its execution during PLSQL. So writing a control structure is very important in PLSQL. So controlling PLSQL execution is very important. For that, you can change the logical flow of the statement using conditional if statement and loop control structures. So if then statement can be used to control the execution of the functions in PLSQL. Okay, there are three kinds of conditional statements are there: if, then, and, if, then, else, and if, or if, then, else, if, and if. These are the three conditional statements that can be used to control the data execution of the function in PLSQL. Okay, so before running any command or before writing any syntax, if you want to control the execution, means if you want to only apply the states that function for a specific data set or a specific part of your entire database, then you need to control it. You need to control the execution of different functions. For that, we have different conditional statement. Now we will discuss one by one different conditional statement. The first one is if statement. If statement is very simple. So for writing if statement, the syntax will be like that: if condition, you will define some condition, you will describe, you will you can write some condition. If this condition will fulfill, then it will run, otherwise it will not run. So before running any function, if you have already defined a condition that if x is greater than 10, then it will happen, otherwise it will not done. So using if statement, we can restrict our function to be executed, we can limit the execution of our function. If, then you can define the condition, then you can write the syntax and then it will run, otherwise it will not work. Although in the same way, the simple if statement means set the manager id to 22 if the employee name is Osborne. Okay, so if the employee name is Osborne, then there will be the manager id 22. So we have defined a statement: if this name will be there, then it will assign the id 22, otherwise it will not work. This is the simplest example of if statement. Under if statement, we define some condition. So here condition is if the employee name is Osborne. Okay, that employee is having the name Osborne, then that employee will be assigned the id that is 22, otherwise it will not happen or it will not run. The function will not execute, it will not be executed in that statement or in that syntax. This is the simplest example of if statement. Okay, now simple if statement, there is another example like the how to set the job title to salesman, the department number is 35, and then commission to 20% of the current salary if the last name is Miller. Okay, if an employee's name or if the last name of employee is Miller, then he will get the increment in the salary of 20%. So in your entire database, how many employees having the same last name? Okay, if they are having multiple employees having the last name as Miller, so you need to define a specific job title, means what kind of job title he is working on. He is a salesman, or he is a manager, or he is in another department of your company. Okay, so here is the simple if statement, means if there is a employee whose last name is Miller, this is the condition. If this condition fulfill, then there will be the commission to the 20% of the current salary. So this employee will get the commission of 20%. salary. So the syntax will be written in this way: if employee name is equal to Miller, this is the condition. If this condition will fulfill, then that employee will get the 20% increment in the salary as a commission. Otherwise it will not work. So if then statement is a simplest statement. It's a kind of simplest way to control the execution of our function. Okay, it is very important. So this is the entire execution flow of if then else statement. Okay, first we will define some condition. If the condition is true or condition is fulfilled, then it will run, otherwise it will not run. So there are two. Here you see, if condition, if the condition is true, or you can say that if the condition is fulfilled, whatever the condition you have defined, if that condition is true or fulfilled, then it will run and it will provide you the required result. Okay, if the condition is not fulfilled, means the condition is false, then it will not done, or the function will not run. It will not get some result. If then else, if run, then you will get the result. If it is false, it is not done, then it will not run and you will not get any result. So this is the if then else statement. This is the simplest way, this is the simplest statement by which we can control the execution of different functions in PL/SQL. Okay, this is an additional advantage of PL/SQL over the simple SQL function, simple SQL code or program. Okay, this kind of flow chart kind of execution, or this kind of controlling structure is not available in SQL. This is available only in PL/SQL. So this is an added advantage by using PL/SQL programming language. Okay, now moving to the next slide. There is this is another example of if then else statement. How to perform any execution of the function, how to control the execution of any function in PL/SQL can be written in the way: set a flag for orders where there are fewer than 5 days between the order date and ship date. So this is the condition. If this condition is there, then it will run, otherwise it will not run. So here is if ship date is equal to order date is less than 5, then v ship flag is equal to acceptable. Okay, if this condition is fulfilled, means if there is a less than 5 days of order, then it will be acceptable, otherwise it will comes under the unacceptable function, unacceptable result. Okay, this is the flow chart if then else statement. If condition is true or fulfilled, then it will do, or the action will be executed. If it is false, then it will not work, you will not get the result. Again, you can define the condition after not getting any result. Again, you can define another condition by using if and then. Again, it will check whether it is fulfilled, whether it is true, then it will get some output by executing that command, otherwise you will not get any result. So you can write, you can define the conditions multiple time in your syntax. Okay, if once it will not work, then you can write, you can define another state condition. If one statement is not true, then it will not run. But how it will run, how you will get the result, then again you will write another statement, you will write another condition, you will define another condition, then again it will check whether it is fulfilled, whether it is true or not. If it again true, then it will get some result, your function will run, otherwise you will not get any result, and it will be false condition, it will be unfulfilled condition. So you can increase the number of statements, you can increase the number of conditions in your syntax until you will get your desired results. Okay, now moving to the next slide. This is another example how to write a example for if then else statement. Okay, for a given value, calculate a percentage of that value based on condition. For example, it is the way in which we can write some if then else statement. Okay, now how to create or how to build a logical condition. That logical condition means logical or Boolean condition. Logical operators can also be applied during the execution of a function. You can handle null values with a is null operator. Is null operator can be used in PLSQL uh, program to handle the null values. Any arithmetic expression can also contain null values. Null value means it is not zero, it is having no value. Zero and no value having difference. Zero means nothing, but there is no value, that is known as null operator or null function. So it is contacted expression with null values that treat null values as many empty string. Null acts as a false. Logic tables, this is the logical table, as we know that it works only for true and false. Okay, so we can build a simple Boolean condition with a comparison operator. There are three kinds of Boolean operators, as we know: and, or, and not. And, or, and not are three kinds of Boolean operators, and by applying the Boolean operators, by applying some Boolean conditions, we will get some logical results in the terms of true and false. Okay, so this is the simplest way to build a simple Boolean condition with a comparison operator. We can compare different outputs, different logical outputs, by applying Boolean operators, that is Boolean condition, which is and, or, and not. This is a Boolean condition. What is the value of a v flag in each case? So it may have the Boolean condition whether it is true or false. Okay, so by applying the logical operators, that is and or not, we can get different Boolean conditions in two terms only: true or false. This is another example of how we can get the output result in the terms of true or false values by applying the logical operators. Okay, there are iterative control. Loop statement is also there. Okay, in PL/SQL there is another function which is advantage over the SQL, that is iterative control or loop statement. Loop repeats a statement. If you want to repeat the same statement multiple times, if you want to repeat the same syntax multiple times, then you will use the loop statement. There are three kinds of loop statement in the PLSQL: basic loop, for loop, and while loop. Using these kind of loops, using these kind of functions, you can get the iterative options, you can get the repetitive statement or the sequence of the statement multiple times in your function. Okay, basic loop means you can have this kind of syntax for basic loop. Loop means statement one. If you want to repeat the statement one multiple times, then you will use the basic loop, where the condition will be that is a Boolean variable or expression is true, false, or null, then it will repeat multiple times. So basic loop means if you have written a syntax, and if you want to write it multiple times, if you want to run it multiple times, then you will set the condition, means is a Boolean variable or expression is true, false, or null. In the same way, you can have the multiple times execution of the same syntax in your code, in your program. Okay, this is another example. Okay, for loop, this is the example for loop. For writing the syntax for loop, you will write for the counter in, that is reverse, lower bound or upper bound loop, statement 1 and statement 2. So use a for loop to shortcut the test for the number of iterations. For loop means how many times you want to repeat the same statement: 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. So you will write the lower bound and upper bound. It means lower bound means minimum one time you want to run that statement. Upper bound means minimum 10 times. So you can define the lower bound means minimum one time it should be executed, and maximum 10 times it should be executed. So you will write lower bound as 1, upper bound as 10. So the same syntax, the same statement will be repeated for maximum 10 times in that for loop operator or for loop function. Okay, so these are some guidelines for loop. You have to have some reference, the counter within the loop only, it is undefined outside the loop. Okay, the lower and upper bound of the loop could be values. It should have some value, it should have some variables or expressions. Okay, do not reference the counter as the target of an assignment, because in that case you will get some error message. Okay, so there should not be a reference the counter as the target of an assignment. Your reference value and your target value should not be the same, otherwise you will get the error message if you run that for loop operation. Okay, this is an example for writing the syntax for loop operator, for loop function. So you have to insert the first 10 new lines items for the order number 601. For that kind of function, for that kind of order, you can write in this way. This is the example of writing a syntax using the for loop operator or for loop function. Okay, while loop is another example. We can use the while loop to repeat the statement while a condition is true. The same syntax, the same operation will run until you will not get the true result or you will not get the condition that is fulfilled. So that can be done using the while loop. So this is the syntax for writing the while loop. While condition loop, then condition is evaluated at the beginning of each iteration, and there is a two kind of statement, statement 1, statement 2. So it will check that each statement, it will check each statement whether it is fulfilled or not. If it is fulfilled, then it then you will get the result. Otherwise it will continuously repeat while you will not get the desired result, while you will not get the complete output as you required, as you are looking for that value. So this is the use of while loop. Okay, this is an example of while loop. Okay, this is an example how to write a syntax for while loop. Now moving to next slide. So in the same way, there are also primary key in the PL/SQL table structure. As we know that in SQL there are primary key and foreign key. In the same way, in PL/SQL table structure, we also have some primary keys. Primary keys are unique numbers that are not repeated in the table, and you will get the foreign keys in that table, but primary key will be unique. And primary key may be any binary integer, and the values, all the data sets inserted in various columns of your table, it will be any scalar data. Scalar data is discussed in the previous class. Scalar data may be any number, it may be any text, it may be any date of birth, it may be any kind of values, any character, or anything, whatever the value you are looking for. So PL/SQL table structure is same as SQL table structure, but only difference is that in PL/SQL the data sets which is used in PL/SQL table is under the scalar data type, and there are also the provision of primary key and foreign key in the PL/SQL table. Okay, so this is the entire structure of the table. So we may have multiple rows and column in a table, each row having a unique number that is known as primary key. It may be any binary integer, 1 2 3 4 5 6 and so on, how many rows are there. And under the column you may have multiple columns, each column may have different kinds of variables, different kinds of data sets, but that all data sets should be related to the scalar data type. Scalar data type may be a number, it may be the text, or it may be the date, month and year of any product or any person. Okay, this is the structure of table used in PL SQL. Okay, now these are some MCQs related to today's lecture. There are total 8 questions that are related to today's lecture about PL/SQL. All of you attempt this question. Thank you very much, and we will meet again for next class. We will discuss some new topic in database management system in the next classes. Thank you very much.